Hey, how's it going? So I pulled two cards today, and the first one is horned cactus, resourcefulness. And as you can see on the card, there's a cactus on here, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like well, you know what? Hold on. Let me just look up the name of the stupid things. I'll be right back. Yeah, it's a saguaro. Not cigar. S-A-G-U-R-A-R. S-A-G-U-R-A-R-O. You know what? Here, I will show you, since I'm just... It doesn't sound like that's coming out very clear. Hold on. Yes, it just took me 2 seconds to already forget, but here is the name of it. Okay, well, yeah, and that's missing a letter. I forgot an A. It should be saguaro. There should be an A in there, but anyway, saguaro cactus. And they're the ones you would see in like a Wile E. Coyote commercial where they have the arms like this. So, very typical desert feature. And something I noticed about it right away, well, it made me think of something, which I will go into here once I finish talking about this one feature. But at the top there are some super... pointy and sort of thick spikes, like, and they do have spines all over them. You can see them, but if you notice here, they're coming out of a sort of a button type situation, and not a leather jacket spike, which is what that looks like to me. Punk rock leather jacket, or actually, punk rockers borrowed that whole spike thing from, like, gay culture. I don't know how well people were recognizing that as they were running around with cock rings on and calling them cock rings. Like, I just think, well, it just, like, went over people's heads. But anyway, these little buttons where it comes out. You ever heard the word peyote buttons? Peyote is a cactus also, and so, or the buttons are, so I assume the whole rest of the plant is a peyote. But anyway, this is the type of situation that they grow out of. It's flat, it's round usually, and it has like, the spikes on the cactus are pretty thin actually. They are, well, I don't know what to compare them to if you don't have anything like it around. But they're not hard to look at. I'm sure there's some decorative ones wherever people live somewhere. So anyway, you could sort of get in your mind's eye what a spine looks like as opposed to whatever this is. And it looks really sort of like a defensive feature almost, as well as the horns and just the regular spikes. I mean, or spines. They're not... well, I don't know if you've ever eaten one, but you have to peel it almost like if you get a pear, a cactus pear, you have to peel those things like a pineapple because the spines go in fairly deep. They're almost like fishbone fine in some cases, and you have to do some work to get at the sweet meat at the center of those things. And also the same with a cactus. Like if you're in the desert and you don't have water and you see one of these, if you cut one open, it's not gonna like start pouring water out like a tap, but you could chew on the meat of one and get like pretty much water out of it. So they are like a sentinel, God, that word has just been in my head so much the past couple of days, so I guess that means something, but they do stand guard, kind of. And so it made me think of something that the card is not really talking about. If you see there's a sort of a face in that cactus, let me get some glare off of that, and to me it looks like it has the slightly slanted eyes of maybe a native person, like an Indian, and it made me think of cursed land, basically, like unpleasant, but it is like, it makes life as hard as possible. And it's not in all places that look the same. Like here where I am, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and I have seen a number of ghost shows where the people go to someone's home and they have all these problems, and then, you know, the typical thing they do on these shows is they have someone that investigates the property itself, the land that the, you know, physical home or business is sitting on, and you just go back, I don't know, I guess like at least 100 years to figure out like who lived there first and what happened in the area that could traumatize the land and have killed people that were on the land, that would have left them sort of lingering here in I guess a ghost form, because I mean, it could be so many reasons for each individual spirit that they're still hanging around. But in the case that I'm thinking of, the spirits are native spirits that have hung around for inhospitable. That was the word I was looking for. The land is just inhospitable to life. And if modern man has come in and built a housing complex on top of land like this, then, you know, the spirits, I was going to say they adapt, and I guess they do, to like structures. But if you watch those shows, you'll also know that the spirits do not take kindly to construction and rehabilitation of structures. Like if it's an old one, you know, there could be someone hanging around that was the person that built that structure and lived in it and had whatever business doings going on in there, whatever they had, you know, sometimes people die. There's lots of reasons, lots of things that would kill a person, especially the further back you go, where it's not as safe and convenient as it is today. You know, you have to go hunt a lot of stuff for your meals, and like literally hunt, or just, you know, like go out and kill some beast and bring it home and dress it and eat it, you know, or just struggle to find what you need for yourself and your family. Like you didn't have the supermarkets, and you didn't have the paved roads, and, you know, the cars to go 3 times the distance in a quarter of the time that you would on foot or on a horse. You know what I'm saying? Like the modern era and conveniences just were not there maybe at the time of construction. And everything that's come after, including the people onto this land, this property, spectral property, I guess you could call it, is sort of like an insult to the original structure and beings on the place. Like if they're still hanging around, they could have resentment for people coming in. And by the way, dead people are dead people. That's something to keep in mind. Like if they were a wiener when they were alive, they're gonna be that when they're dead too, and they're gonna have access to like abilities and forces that we regular old living humans mostly don't have access to and can't have control over. So they can really do a number on an unsuspecting person who has not been opened up by maybe the experience of living someplace haunted, because that does it for a lot of people. Like you could go along through life and be all, I don't believe in ghosts and that's not real and blah blah blah, and so sure, until you wake up because the covers were yanked off of you by something you can't see, and you just feel scared and horrible, and I think we tell ourselves we don't know why because of fear, but I think we actually do, on a deeper level. And I think that is the thing that brings up the most fear, is that we have all this buried stuff, and we keep it buried for a reason, because it scares us. We don't want to face whatever something is, and it could be a number of things, but we keep stuff very deeply buried for a reason, and I think that might be one of them. So, to me, that whole spirit guarding the land thing, especially if it's been a place that's just awful and terrible and wicked for hundreds of years, like, okay, we get it, it's a bad land, it's a don't go there. And I had a thought that, and I felt it was presumptuous to think this, because these spirits have been guarding these places for so long, and they have been put there for a reason. Like, this is just a perception I have, like, I don't know how it works that spirits end up guarding the land forever, but the way I feel like it has worked, at least, is that there are people who have died in, like, battle or something, and it gets back to that, who the person was that came along and disturbed the native inhabitants, which, I don't know, do I need to go into it because they're taking all the history books away? Let's just say that the white colonists came and did settle all across this land, and it caused major havoc for the native people that were already there. The moving them around and, like, bringing disease, which was poorly understood, but I think they kind of caught on that after a while that their presence made the original inhabitants sick. And that is so awful on so many levels, especially when it became a deliberate thing that they did, knowing they would just wipe them out either completely or so many that they wouldn't have any defense against the colonists coming onto the land. So when you're dying or you spend years under oppression like that, and it's just unfair, and I know that's not been like the colonial way to even care about that, but things change. So I was feeling like after a while their job was done. Like, it's obsolete. The war is lost. The people have overtaken the whole country, and it's long since past time to kind of adapt to the situation the way the living natives have. And there's some that want to remain as traditional as possible and retain all of the ancient wisdom that they've had and passed down forever, but it's been hard in the face of progress. Which brings me back to I'm not going to explain like all of it, but I came to a point where I was like, okay, well, something I would like to be able to do, and I had no idea how I was going to do this, or even what spurred me to say that I wanted to, but it was that I wanted to heal the land. Like, what does that mean? It sounds pretty presumptuous. It still does. It always has, but I'm not out here with a test kit or whatever. It's just sort of by having, my presence and intent on that matter. It doesn't sound like anything, but maybe it's not anything. I mean, I've talked about this kind of thing before. Like, intent is incredibly powerful, especially if you have a more fulsome idea of what you can do with it, and you have faith in yourself, in your strength, and you just have to believe in your own power a lot of times. Just like if you're facing a job interview that scares you, you got to dig up some power from deep inside yourself, even if it's the fake it till you make it whole mask you situation. It is your defense, and it is your defense, and it can help you, like, especially in a job situation, because if you're presenting yourself in a certain way that an employer likes and that they feel is a benefit to their company, then that's going to work for you. So, anyway, I had thought that, and like I said, I felt like, who do you think you are that you can heal some land? But once I started like letting myself believe that it was a thing that I could do, and I don't mean like pH in the soil in that, I mean just sort of like be a generator of better will over the area that I'm on, you know. That was like what I was thinking, and it still felt like kind of small and silly. But then I started seeing over and over, and it feels like confirmation, because that's kind of how it works for me, is I'll see something that confirms my question or belief, and I started seeing people like medicine men kind of talking about it. And when I first thought of it, I went to, well, a well-known chief that is kind of a sage and speaks to the whole world about, you know, indigenous wisdom about the earth and things like that. And he said he would speak to me, and then, you know, he explained that he lived on a reservation and they didn't have, you know, like what I have, which is cable in my apartment that just works all the time and is just easily accessible, like not set up the same way on the reservation where he lived. You know, he'd have to, I guess, leave and go somewhere off the res to where there's bars or whatever for the phone, not to drink. But then the next day I saw him like talking to a whole bunch of people and just being kind of silly and having fun, which everyone's entitled to that. But I felt like, well, if you can dick around with them, why can't you like talk to me about this thing? Because I felt like it was very important, and I felt shy coming to him with what I had to say, because I felt like he would say, who the fuck do you think you are that you could just come along and tell these spirits that have been around forever that they can go? Well, I don't mean an exorcism or a clearing or anything like that. What I mean is maybe their work is done. Like, you have done it for a long time. You've done an excellent job for years. The problem is just beyond. It's the time of the urgency to do what they were doing is past. It's time to move on to a new way of dealing with things. And then it's, you know, right now, the shift that's going on, part of it, which it doesn't look like it at all, is us learning how to get along together and get over our against each other stuff. So anyway, like after I reached out to this guy and it didn't work out that he wanted to talk, and then when he was probably totally sincere about what he said, but I felt like, why did you tell me that? And here you are, blah, 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 with everybody the next day. So I got like annoyed, and I was like, forget it. I'll just figure it out myself. And that was when I started to get these confirmation messages that were saying also that maybe it is time for you to go home and, you know, get back to your family again. Like, you've done your duty and it's honorable. And the thing now is that now you're just hurting people and the earth, which or people are part of the earth, as are you. It's like fighting ourselves, and that's what I want to kind of put an end to. And that is what I meant by like wanting to heal the earth. So highfalutin, but I don't think it's a terrible aspiration. So I'm going to read what the book has to say, and it has nothing to do with what I was just talking about. Maybe we'll just see. Horned cactus, blooming through resilience, resourcefulness, discovery. When nothing seems to be happening when nothing seems to be happening fast enough, or your ideas have dried up, you begin to question your relevance. Spirits, are you still relevant doing what you're doing? During these periods in life, you might feel like giving up, frustrated and resentful that success will never happen for you. You've tried as long as you could to do the best you could with the job that you were handed, spirits, but maybe it's time for you to go ahead and move on and, you know, live other rewards with your spirit, like maybe going home where your family is and not being violent and scary and destructive. that's like anti-life, you know, and that's not too earthy in my opinion. So during these periods in life, you might feel like giving up, frustrated and resentful that success will never happen for you. The issue here, however, is a matter of perception. The horned cactus thrives in the barren desertscape, offering you the gift of water when all appears to be dry. If you look at its body, you see the natural thorns that protect it from predators and the elements. What you don't see are the deep roots that extend far into the earth, filling it with a continuous flow of water. This succulent is a symbol of resilience, of resourcefulness, of your needs being met in spite of appearances to the contrary. It's a reminder of the courage and inherent wisdom needed to dig deep below the less than friendly surface, the less than friendly spirit surface that hides a rich underground world. Can you connect to this magical truth and trust? The desert is a mystical place filled with mysterious creatures, beautifully adapted to their environments. The horned cactus tells you to take heart. This journey is only temporary. You don't have to do it forever and scare people and make the land sick so that it can't grow life. That's anti-life. Like, we get the point. It's time to stop now. And also, I feel like that kind of spirit energy is infectious to a low vibration mindset. So, I mean, to think of the death and injury that happens in those type of places, because there's places where there's dead people's spirit energy that is not like trying to kill you. You know, like we may misinterpret what they're trying to say, but I mean, they could always hurt us, just like a human always could hurt you if that was their intent, you know. So I have a final paragraph here. The cactus tells you to take heart. This journey is only temporary, and you will soon be met with greater pastures. It's time to move on to greater pastures, bad spirits or unhappy spirits. But first, you must acknowledge your inner strength and fortitude as you're tested here. Be as the cactus. Be resilient and resourceful. I think that's good advice in, wow, like many situations, but there are so many thorny, prickly things going on that it's good advice. And then the second card I pulled was deer. I don't know about you, but these animals, I feel like they're such special and amazing creatures. They're so beautiful and so cute looking. And they have little defense. That sort of came to me like today, before I pulled the cards. I was looking at some things, and it was like deer laying down with dogs, like fawns and horses, because, you know, animals are having really fantastic crossovers of the friendship boundary, I guess, because it's a lot of lion and lamb type situations that are happening, or that can be seen. You can find them online, you can find them in life, you know. Look outside at a clouder of stray cats. You're going to see them fighting, but you're also going to see them being really tender to each other. But anyway, I kind of noticed that compared to a buck with the antlers, they really, except for their hooves, they don't have a whole lot of defense. All they have is, look at those eyes. This woman is so good at drawing the eyes, Kim Kranz. But anyway, look how soft they are. Look how friendly. I mean, I've always wanted to hug a deer. Have you not? So, I feel like Look at the background it's in. That doesn't even look like a forest. I don't know where the heck that's supposed to be. It's like all feeling and emotion, because that's what I'm getting right now, because that's like what they kind of bring up in me. Just a big, oh. So that's that impression. Let's see what the book has to say. Dear, loving, intuitive, graceful. The mother. Oh, no, see, that just makes me think of Bambi, and that's sad, but it's also life. You know, Disney and Pixar, they will break your heart, but they do kind of, on some levels, they do kind of tell you the truth, and it hurts. The deer represents the feminine aspects of earth energy. The energy is available to all creatures, regardless of gender, but is especially potent in new parents. During the first few days, they are fully present, nurturing and calm. Their inner beauty radiates, and a sense of grace calms the room. A deer personality affects others in this way, drawing them toward a quiet tenderness. The deer card may appear when a birth or celebration of new life draws near, or when a situation calls for absolute gentleness and compassion. When in balance, receptive, compassionate, nurturing. When out of balance, concerned, protective. To bring into balance, nature, children. So that mothering aspect that they were talking about of the deer, and all of the soft gentleness that they were describing as the mother deer personality, I feel like these animals just kind of radiate that, because they have to exist in such a harsh world where, you know, human hunters could be around any corner, or any hunter, really, because there's animal predators that they have to be aware of as well. And they're, you know, like I said, basically defenseless unless they can jump up and hoof you. And they gotta mind the children and have them and raise them, such as it is. I think deer have their young for fairly long, compared to other species. So, but it brings me back to the cactus and the unsettled earth thing, because it is like that nurturing, loving deer energy that has to kind of coax away from the violent angriness of the spirits that are protectors of the land that I was talking about earlier, that also spoil the land. So it's kind of like that Mother Earth energy urging them away from that sense of being. And it's a metaphor for me, that sour, sort of bad energy that exists on places that want to warn off people that aren't of the, that aren't natives, basically. But there's a lot of places that are badlands that natives won't touch either. Like, they're not allowed there either. So it's a dissonance to me. It's like, if these are the people that put you there, then they should be able to commune with you. And in some cases, it's not true. And I wonder if, like, the whole earthly situation of turmoil and all of this stuff that we're sort of, argy-bargy, we can't, like, quit picking at each other's sensitivities and just finding ways to hurt each other and eliminate each other and take each other down. That's not a mothering, nurturing way, and we've moved away from care and concern and just sort of being loving in spite of, regardless of whatever you think, whatever your perceptions are. We're all of the same litter, okay? Like, litter mates cannot get along, but it's kind of self-defeating to be murdering each other. So, that's what I got from the cards today. Thank you, and good night.